Over the past 2 years, I've taken my GoPro footage from this to this. And today, I'm going to be sharing with you my findings so you can get the most out of your GoPro Hero 8. Like me, you've probably bought multiple GoPros in your life where you're thinking, hey, I'm just gonna strap it on my chest, throw it on my helmet, and go for a bike ride and get some awesome footage. Unfortunately, all my footage from Moab, the first video that you saw, looks like crap. So today we're gonna be walking through how you can set up your GoPro to get the most out of it. And specifically, we're gonna be walking through how you can set up a preset for mountain biking on your GoPro Hero 8. All right, so we are back at home and we're gonna be getting into the action of adding a preset on your Hero 8. And I wanna note, while presets are only available on the Hero 8, you can still follow these instructions and set up any GoPro in the Protune settings to mimic this. So these are just the best settings that you can have on your GoPro to get the best POV trail footage. All right, so what's a preset? So a preset allows you to quickly jump between different settings based on the activities that you're doing. So for instance, we can create a skate preset, a snow preset, and then there's a couple standard ones that come with your GoPro. But to add a bike one to get the best settings for mountain biking, we're gonna go and press this plus button on the bottom. If you're not familiar with cameras, this setting screen might seem like a beast. And so what we're gonna do is just walk through each one of these and make sure it's all set up properly for your mountain bike preset. So the upper left mode, we're gonna keep that in video. The next box is resolution and your frame rate. I personally like to shoot in 4K. If you have the option to do it, you might as well. It does take a lot more file storage, so just be aware of that. So we're just gonna click 4K, get a little notice. YouTube supports it, so don't worry about that. Note that I chose the 4K beneath it. I didn't choose the 4:3. That's the aspect ratio that you're going to be recording in. So if you think of Instagram stories or Instagram photos, that is in a 4:3 format where it's square, whereas these bottom rows are going to be 16:9 and what you'd typically expect on YouTube. The second number underneath is your frame rate. I like to shoot at 24 frames a second. I personally think it makes you seem faster while you're on the trail. If you haven't checked out the differences between the frame rates, go ahead and just do a Google search or YouTube search and see the difference between 24 and 60. It's pretty drastic. So I like shooting in 24. It makes you seem faster and kind of blurs the sides of the trails when you're going down it. Next is lens. And my first video on YouTube was actually comparing the wide versus the super view lens viewing experience. Wide is a little bit more tight and a narrow field of view, whereas the super view is a little bit wider, more immersive. I like that. If you haven't seen my previous YouTube video, check that out and make a decision for yourself. Hypersmooth, you can only have Hypersmooth 2.0 on with super view, but if you choose the wide, you can have boost. I'm just gonna leave that on. Obviously, that's what is the big appeal for the GoPro Hero 8. Low light, just not gonna touch that. Zoom, not gonna touch that either. Clips, not gonna touch that as well. And now we're on to the Protune settings. So Protune allows you to really take control of your camera and fine tune all those settings to your liking. So it's great if you're editing your videos in post-production, you're color grading, adding sharpness, and adjusting the contrast. I edit in DaVinci Resolve, so Protune is just a major go for me. You'll also notice that Protune settings are going to be similar throughout different GoPros. So my Hero 4, I can set the Protune to the exact same that I had on there. Only thing that's different on the Hero 8 is bitrate. This is just how many bits per second can be transmitted. So if you think about it, the higher quality of your video. So I'm gonna keep that at high, since you might as well, if you're capturing in 4K, we wanna get the best footage possible. Moving on to shutter, I keep that at auto. It makes a huge difference if you're going in and out of trees with sunlight and maybe some shadows. You want to just let the GoPro do its job there versus manually selecting a shutter speed. EV comp. So you can think of this as your exposure. So how light or dark you want your video to appear. So this is a combination of shutter speed, aperture, and ISO working together to add overall light or dark to the image. I actually like shooting at -0.5 to -1, just so I can retain more detail when I'm in post-production. All you have to do is raise the shadows in post-production by just adjusting a slider, and then you can retain more detail. So I recommend it shooting at -0.5 to -1 for EV comp. Next, we're gonna move on to white balance. And if you've seen the Lone Ranger's video on your GoPro footage sucks, you should fix it. This is one of the most important settings that you can do. This is also gonna be something that we're gonna manually adjust based on the conditions that we're riding in. So we wanna set it at around 6,000 Kelvin or 6,500 Kelvin when it's cloudy out and there's some overcast. I live in Seattle, so a lot of times that's what I'm shooting in. Whereas we want it to be at 5,500 Kelvin when it's daylight balance and there's sunshine, no clouds in the sky. So that's gonna be one that you're gonna adjust based on your settings and the conditions that you're riding in. ISO, I like keeping those at just 100 and 1600. That just is the amount of artificial light that you're letting into the GoPro. Moving on to sharpness, if I can get down there, I like keeping sharpness at low. Since I do post-production, it's really easy for me to raise the sharpness to my liking versus letting GoPro adjust that for me. So we're gonna keep that at low, and you may notice your videos seem kind of soft. You can keep that at normal if you don't want to do post-production at all. I'll teach you in another video how you can raise the sharpness in DaVinci Resolve. Color. This is where you can choose flat or GoPro. Honestly, color grading is a lot of work, so I just choose GoPro. Sometimes it doesn't look the best, but that's okay to me. I just don't want to edit my videos for hours, so I leave that at GoPro color. Raw audio, I leave that off unless you want to play with the audio tracks. So this just splits your video and audio track. I leave that off because I just don't like dealing with audio. Wind, I keep this at auto. You can shut it off or keep it on at all times. I have a windsock, so I keep it on auto and just couple that with my windsock to make sure I'm getting the most crystal clear audio I can get while on the bike. Shortcuts, so these just allow you to adjust those Protune settings when you're on the main screen. So the only adjustment I make is with white balance. So I'm gonna turn on white balance for the bottom left, if I can get it. And then I'm gonna shut off all the other ones by scrolling all the way down. So we're gonna shut all those off because I like keeping hypersmooth on. I don't like adjusting anything. And there you have it. We just created the mountain bike setting. So we're gonna go name it bike, and voila. We now have set up the GoPro Hero 8 preset for mountain biking, and we have the ability to adjust the white balance by that shortcut on the bottom left. And again, if you ever just want to switch your settings, you can just hop into the main menu right there, and voila, we have our bike settings configured for getting the best footage. So I hope this video was helpful. Please drop a thumbs up, comment, like, subscribe, whatever you need to do. If you got any help out of this video, really helps the channel. So thanks everyone.